our show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Large Glass. I'm Todd.
I'm Terri.
And it's good to see all of you. Hi, Ben. I see you're out there. Good to see you, man.
Hey, Ben.
Happy to have you here. How you doing?
I'm all right. How you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah.
I'm doing all right. How are you all doing? So tell us what you're drinking in the chat. Tell us what you're up to. We have a lot. We had to cut this show down by like 2/3.
Yeah, we had a lot of material.
Yeah, tonight was big.
Very
really,
big.
really big.
Very,
so
very
there's
big.
Pumpkin Audrey.
Hey.
Happy 40th show.
Happy
Thanks,
40th
Audrey.
show. Yes.
Yes. As a matter of fact, on that note, we should get down to the drinks.
We should.
Do we have anything we need to tell them first?
Not necessarily.
No.
But the drinks, we were trying to pair it with 1981.
1981, because why 1981?
Well, when we were thinking of themes for the show, 40 is a big number. Like when you think of 40th birthday parties, it's a milestone. So we wanted to do something kind of big.
Yep.
So we kind of went back and forth on the meaning of 40, and quarantine actually came up a couple times, but we figured we covered that territory a couple times over by now, so we were kind of moving on.
And we were bored with that one. We decided that it was really kind of impossible to give the show a receding hairline because male pattern baldness and digital transmissions don't really go together.
That's true.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, so we decided to go back 40 years from this year to the year 1981.
Yeah, and we decided to explore what's going on with art in 1981.
Right. So the art world in 81 had a lot of stuff going on, and we decided that, this would be a great place for us to work from. And then with all the artists that we're going to show, we couldn't just pick one beverage.
No, we couldn't. And then we did do a little exploration into what was popular. A lot of those, like, Bartles and James wine coolers, B-52s.
A Harvey Wallbang.
Harvey Wallbanger.
Can you imagine if I was sitting here?
White Zinfandel, which I remember my parents drinking all the time, which is why I probably have a problem with
I think Bartles and James is
Zinfandel.
probably the most, iconic drink brand from that time.
Yes, I think so.
I think so.
We thought it's a celebration, so we're going to pull out some Prosecco.
Some Prosecco for the celebration. So I've already started to uncork.
Yep.
This is the part that always makes Terri nervous.
Oh, yeah.
But
It's gonna
hopefully this thing is not going to pour all over me. If it does, I'm going to fire up the Def Leppard, and we'll just get muted for a little while. Here we go.
There we go.
Ooh.
Very nice.
So good.
I don't see any. Ooh, look at that smoky.
Now, as you know, in the past, we have dressed up for shows.
Yes.
Right? We've had a couple of sci-fi shows.
We have.
And of course, this being 1981, we were like, oh my God, I don't really have, Terri didn't have anything with shoulder pads.
Yeah, no shoulder pads, no jelly bracelets, no funky hair things or.
Most of my wardrobe is still from 1980, so I was in pretty good shape. But so what we decided to do.
Well, we kind of dressed up for it.
Should we change?
Yeah.
Should we change for them?
Quick?
Yeah, let's change for them.
Just change
all right,
quick.
good.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You change. Here we go. She's Ali Sheedy.
I'm Ali Sheedy from the Breakfast Club.
And I'm kind of the geek from the Breakfast Club, but I don't have enough hair.
See?
You make a good Ali Sheedy.
I do.
All right.
I really do. Okay.
Can I have your glass, please?
Yeah. Oh, I pre-gamed already.
Are you taking it off?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait.
How am I going to drink with this?
By costume, I mean you just have messy hair.
Oh, yes.
But Ali Sheedy, I think, was one of my
Sheedy.
favorite. There's Carolyn Thau. Hi, Carolyn Thau.
Carolyn.
How's it going? She's laughing at us.
We're totally 80s.
I can't read the screen with sunglasses on, so it's going to be hard.
I can't see with my hair in my face, so this is going to be a
Ali Sheedy in the Breakfast Club was like my biggest heartthrob ever, and from that day forward, nothing was ever the same for me. So I appreciate your costume very much. Here's
you.
to episode 40. Here's to 1981.
1981.
Were you born yet?
Yes. But thank you.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
All right, I'm going to take these ridiculous glasses off.
I'm going to throw my hair back.
All right. All right, enough of that.
All right.
Wait a minute. Yeah, Blondie would be perfect. As a matter of fact, we just said...
And in fact, Blondie does become part of our conversation later.
She does.
She does.
Because she has a direct connection to...
one of our artists.
Two of our artists.
Yes,
actually.
Two of our
artists.
Yep.
There's John Park. How's it going?
Hello.
Nice to see you. Let's see. Did we miss anybody else? Amanda Toolin's here.
Yay!
She says, not drinking, but soon to be eating the Romanesco soup I'm making. Oh, well,
that sounds
come on over.
yummy.
Bring it over.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think that's the perfect time for us to just skip ahead to something really quickly, because
Let's do that.
every week we talk about a featured supporter. And oh, wait a minute.
That's not him.
That's not our featured supporter. Hang on a minute. I've got some things open here that should not be open. So let me mess around with that.
I don't think seeing his picture is much of a surprise, though, if you
In
think back
1981,
on to
come on. He's like an
1981.
icon of 1981. Anyway, let's do featured supporter. And here we go. Amanda Toolin, you are our featured supporter tonight. So we want to say thank you to you.
Thank you.
For being here from the beginning.
For
and
moderating on occasion.
for being one of our moderators. We
Yeah.
love that. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Warhol and Basquiat, maybe. You mean in terms of Debbie Harry or Blondie? Blondie
Or
was
just being present because maybe the picture.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
Basquiat was
well,
on
yeah,
the screen,
yeah.
so she's definitely typing in response to that. Yes,
Yes.
you're welcome, and thank you. We appreciate that. So I'm gonna make a mess out of my buttons tonight. All right, so let's see. Oh, and by the way, a couple of things really quickly. Number one, you will notice down below, right next to the chat window, or right around the chat window, most of you are familiar with your viewer loyalty points on Twitch. It's a little purplish bubble, and then there's a number, and every once in a while there's this blue thing that lights up and shakes at you and says, hey, click me. Well, that's a bonus, right, for watching, and those points accumulate. So if you get in touch with my mom or Amanda Toolin, I mean, they probably have close to 100,000 viewer loyalty points. Amanda says, so happy to be here. I missed last week. I had a hectic night. Well, that's
okay.
That's all right. We
have reruns now, so that's kind of cool.
we can do reruns
Yeah.
on our hectic nights.
Yeah.
We haven't done one of those yet.
Not yet.
Anyway, viewer loyalty points. If you click on that, there are some things in there that you can spend those loyalty points on. Now, before you do that, Mom has 62,900 viewer loyalty points. Before you do that, we added a new thing tonight for just for tonight's show. And that is, if you want to spend 250 viewer loyalty points, you will trigger a 1980s trivia question that we'll ask the chat during the show.
Yeah.
Just to kind of make it a little more fun. It might not always be visual arts related, but we'll throw it out there anyway because we've had fun with that in the past. Another thing you could spend your viewer loyalty points on. And remember, viewer loyalty points are free. If you're a follower, you get them. And there's Angus Ron. How's it going?
Hello.
Good to see you. I can't go for that. No can do. Here comes Dave with the Hall & Oates lyrics. We are going to be giving away tonight
this awesome mead composition notebook.
One mead composition notebook complete with a little piece of tape on it. Actually,
I think there's even like a price tag on the back over here.
Oh wait, that's a Basquiat drawing.
That is a Basquiat drawing.
Tell them what's inside, Terri.
What's inside? Well, this is actually a reproduction of his composition notebooks that
Basquiat's.
Dave produced this is faithful to the actual composition books that he kept. And throughout them, you can see it just looks like a true copy of what his sketchbooks look like. There are crossouts, there's coffee stains.
It's so well
there's
done, you almost
girls'
don't want to
phone
touch
numbers.
it.
Like, this looks like the real deal. I love this book. I got this from you for Christmas one year. It's one of my favorite art books. And if you know about Basquiat, and we're going to be talking about him later, he was heavily he was first known as Samo, a graffiti artist in New York City, and a lot of his poetry, which was throughout the city, is written in here as well. So this is a fabulous reproduction. They did everything that you could imagine that his notebooks look like, from girls' phone numbers to drawings on the backs to the sticker to the ISBN code. I love this book. You will too. So
Yeah, so that's going to be given away tonight to one of you. Now, we will launch that giveaway later on in the show. And of course, you'll have to do the usual, where you can spend some of your loyalty points to get an added benefit to possibly winning it. I'm not going to say the thing about my mom. I'm not. Mom, you're welcome to be in this one.
she's got rabbit's feet charms.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know what
I'm
it
just
is
sitting here
either.
silently trying to figure out what to say, because I just don't. I told my mom, I said, you know what you need to do? You need to make up a new account for Twitch that doesn't say that you're my mom.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I don't want to lose my viewer loyalty points. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay, fair enough.
Fair deal.
I get that. I get that. Okay, so Carolyn's like, me, please.
Yeah, this is a good one.
It's a really good book.
It is.
Okay, so let's talk about let's do some business.
All right.
Shall we do some business?
Sure.
All right, let's pop back to do some news, because, you know, last week I felt kind of bad because I was like talking about sad news, you know, because we talked about a death. And this week we have one more, unfortunately, to share. So this week we lost, where's his picture? We lost Eric Carle.
We did.
Yeah, the Eric Carle's the creator of the Very Hungry Caterpillar, which, you know, we all know and love. And so he passed away this week, and he will certainly be missed. He's such a sweet guy.
He really is. And he appeared on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
He did.
Yeah. So
And-
he had, you know, he's been in the business of
The segment where he was on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
teaching children for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I happened to watch that this past week.
Did you?
And it was so we should do a whole segment on Mr. Rogers at some
We
point.
should.
So
We should.
so anyway, we're
The good news is Eric Carle's birthday is coming up pretty soon. So we'll revisit him later on this month
yeah,
with a happier
a
tune.
happier element to the whole
Yes,
thing. All right.
yes.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so.
So Eric Carle. Anyway, let's see. I'm not going to counter that with any other news this week.
Okay.
So let's also do the many.
We have a lot of birthdays.
Oh my
so-
gosh, we have so many
so
birthdays. So I had said a couple of weeks ago that we had discovered a brand new resource for you know, our birthday resources, because we have a huge spreadsheet going for the entire year for artists' birthdays and when they are. But we found another resource that we're now pulling from, and it basically tripled our birthday list, which is great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so anyway,
To celebrate, so that's all good.
so who's first?
So up first is actually today. It's Terri Winters' birthday.
Oh, 63 is here. How's it going? By the way,
Hello.
63. I went and looked furiously for the name of the background music tune that you were asking about, and I am completely unable to figure out. I know that it's an open license piece of music, and I fused that with, you know, the chatter and clinking of glasses, and then I put those two things together, and I can't find it. I have no idea. So I'm unable to credit that, unprofessional as that is, and I apologize for that. But I did look. Anyway, sorry, we're on Terri Winters.
Oh,
so
that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I was going to say we can rename the song.
Let's name it Terri Winters.
Let's name it Terri Winters. All right. Well, this is Terri Winters. He's an American painter, printmaker. He works in the abstract. He's well known for his defining spatial relationships within his compositions. He was born on this day in 1949.
I have an awesome Terri Winters story.
Do you?
Yes.
All right.
I had a friend who was in from out of town. We decided to go into Chelsea. We were looking around at shows. We went to see a Terri Winters painting show. And there were these enormous, beautiful, thick impasto paintings of these linear, like almost like roller coaster forms. They were gorgeous. And the paint was almost put on with a tube. And so there were all these like nodules of dried oil paint all over them. It was absolutely gorgeous. My friend is on one side of the gallery. I'm on the other side of the gallery. And I'm like, I'm in close, I'm looking. I glance over at him. He's in close and looking. The gallery attendant is, of course, behind the desk completely in her own world, not paying attention. We're the only two in the gallery. And I just happen to glance over at him as I see, and I can't blame him for this, but he also was not a gallery goer, so he didn't quite understand. But I see his finger arch into a hook as he goes to pluck one of these nodules like off the painting, and I kind of like, it was one of those moments where time slowed down. I'm like, no. I like race. I was like, no. It's like a $700,000 painting.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So anyway, that was my Terry Winters story. And we have too many birthdays for me to be telling all of these, but a small selection of Terry Winters works for you.
Happy birthday, Mr. Winters.
Happy birthday, Terry. I love that guy's work.
Yeah, fantastic.
But speaking of loving someone's work, there is no higher rung on the ladder for me.
You know, Roberta Smith actually wrote that he was one of the best art critics. He wrote a piece many, many years ago, and she actually refers to that when she's doing art criticism. But this is Donald Judd.
Donald Judd survived as an artist for a long time writing criticism.
Yeah.
That's how he got by.
Uh-huh. And he was born on June 3rd, 1928. He died in 1994. He's a minimalist. He's known for his
He hated the
modern
term
art.
minimalism.
He did.
He really could not stand it. And no, he is classified as a minimalist, no doubt. That's not the wrong thing to say. But when people said that in front of him, he had a hard time with that because he felt like minimalism pared things down to something that was simplistic.
Yes.
And he found the differences amongst the minimal elements of his work and others in that genre to be more complicated than they were simplified. He did not like the term for that.
Yes.
It's kind of interesting.
Yes.
But
his birthday is June 3rd, and Todd actually created a short on him. So we will be seeing that later on this week. So just tune into Instagram or Facebook, and we'll share that with you so that you can see too. It's pretty cool.
We're also doing a version of this in the vertical on TikTok. So we have a new TikTok account where we're taking our artist shorts and throwing them up there. We only have 4, so I almost went like this. We only have 4 so far. Awesome. Age. We only have 4 so far. Road trip to Marfa from 63. I am totally down with that.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to go to Marfa.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome.
But if you're a TikTok person, if that's your thing, you can look us up. They're called Large Glass Shorts on TikTok, and you can check them out. We've got we've got 4, so you can go there and look at those.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
Yes. So this is Laurie Anderson, Lou Reed's wife. So she has a birthday coming up on June 5th, 1947. She's an avant-garde artist, composer, musician, film director, but also a sculptor, a violinist.
All around multifaceted, amazing person.
Artist, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So she's got a birthday coming up this week. So happy birthday.
Yeah,
Laurie.
she, Ben's like Lou. Yeah, I know. Lou Reed is one of my favorites. And Laurie Anderson, honestly, I was saying to Terry earlier that I'm proud to have in my record collection an original pressing in mint condition of Big Science, which has on it her breakthrough song, Oh Superman, which actually weirdly was an experimental piece of music that made it to number 2 on the British pop charts. So I'm sure you've heard it. It's the type of thing that if some radio DJ nowadays does play, people are like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Because it's a very strange piece, but it was much stranger then than it is now, and I frankly really love I love her work. So moving on. Should we go to the next one?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
This is David Driscoll.
This guy's awesome.
June 7th was a popular day for artists' birthdays. We've got 5 of them coming up right now.
5 people on the 7th.
So this is David Driscoll. He was born on June 7th, 1931. Artist, scholar, curator, known for his paintings, drawings, collage, printmaking, his documentary film that was released not too long ago. He's celebrating a birthday this week. I believe he died not too long ago.
He did, and I don't remember the date actually, so I feel bad about that.
Yeah,
but love his work, so
love
check
his
him
work
out.
too.
I'm
He's
actually going to
fantastic.
do an artist supplemental on TikTok about him, so stay tuned for that. And then this guy.
This is Red Grooms, also born on June 7th. He was born in 1937, so he's actually going to be 83 this year. Multimedia, colorful pop artist. He's got these frenetic scenes and painted collage sculptures. So we love him. We almost bought a piece of his once.
We did buy a piece of his once.
Yes.
So I bought a print of his at auction that I got a pretty good deal on,
Yeah.
I thought. Not realizing that the auction house was located up in Massachusetts, up outside of Boston. So then rather than paying $500 to get it shipped, I thought, well, I'll just drive up there and get it. So I drove all the way up there, and it's a good thing I did because it was framed. The glass of the frame was broken, and they decided to cut me a break, and they gave me some of my money back. And then when I looked at it further, the broken glass had actually damaged the print. So they took the whole thing back. I forfeited this, or I got my money back.
Yeah.
But it was an awesome piece.
It is an awesome piece.
What are you gonna do?
And he's an awesome artist, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Red Grooms.
I believe we're moving into Nora Collier.
Yep.
So she is I think of her mostly as a landscape painter. She was also born on June 7th in 1898. She's a Canadian modernist painter. She was also a teacher.
She also painted portraits.
She also painted portraits.
Yep.
They're absolutely gorgeous.
Yep.
So her birthday this week too.
Ben says, is that a painting? It looks three-dimensional. Yeah, the taxi actually was, that taxi cab of Red Grooms was a three-dimensional object that he painted and then made into an actual form. So it's both. All right, so Collier. Oh, I couldn't help myself when I had to get a picture of this guy.
That transition's kind of...
Yeah, we went from Collier to this guy.
Nice calm Collier to... Bam! We've got Damien Hirst.
Damien Hirst. And
which, that's how he makes an entrance, right? So it kind of fits.
This is how I get up every morning.
Yeah. Okay, he was also born on June 7th. He was born in 1965, so he's the youngest of the June 7th crowd. He's also the wealthiest artist. I think of him, though, as shock art sometimes, like his animal series.
Yeah, I saw these formaldehyde pieces in one of his, the premiere show that featured not these, but the sheep and the cow. And it really, this show really bothered me.
It bothers me a little bit with the animals and the way that they're displayed.
The hardest part about these, and this actually became an issue for him in his work, is when you walked into the gallery, you could smell the formaldehyde. And it was because they leaked a little bit. And this is problematic for the collectors who bought his work. More problematic for the collectors who bought his work because at the time he was probably his work was selling for the highest ticket price of any living artist at the time he was hot. And then that just went. So if you were buying him when he was hot, that was like buying a house in 2008.
Oh,
Only it cost like, I don't know, 70 times what a house cost.
Yeah. Well, that's on the upswing right now, so who knows? Maybe.
Who knows?
There's hope for him. But
Who's this guy?
this is Paul Gauguin, French post-impressionist. He did a lot of Polynesian-themed paintings. He was also born on June 7th, but in 1848.
Yep.
Not very appreciated during his lifetime. It was after he passed away that he gained recognition.
As
which
it
we
was with a
hear
lot of these
often.
guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
So his birthday's coming up as well. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Oh, and we're back to Terry. So
back to
that's the
Terri.
end.
Terry Winters.
Happy birthday, everybody. That was a good one. We have a lot of those to talk
A
about.
lot of birthdays. Yep.
All right. Well, we always talk about, before we jump into what our theme is of the night, we always talk a little bit about support. And I have been talking about this painting that we're getting from Susan Stillman to give away, which I'm really excited about. And I also, have been saying over and over again that these that you're seeing on the screen are not the paintings. What you're seeing on the screen is Susan Stillman's work, and you can go check her work out at Susan Stillman Fine Art. I believe it's SusanStillmanFineArt.com. And check out what she does. She has been generous enough to give a painting to us to give to you. Now, the goal for this is going to be 200 followers, and we are currently at 148 followers. So we need 52 followers. Now, this painting, oh my gosh, it's going to be awesome. We can so get there. You got to tell your friends. We've been doing some outreach. We've been trying, social media is tough.
It is tough.
It's tough, especially in the summertime, right? Because, it's like one of these things where it's like, people are out, they're doing things, they're not going to sit down necessarily to watch the show. Gary987 says, oh, it's Gary. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Gary.
I'm like, wait a minute, which Gary is that? That purple, all those numbers, like I can't see them. But Gary Palker's in the house. Good to see you. Anyway, tell your friends. Let's get to 200 followers. If you're watching right now and you are not a follower of ours, please come follow us. When we give away this Basquiat book later, you gotta be a follower to win.
All you gotta do is click the follow button and you're in.
And you're in.
Yeah.
What could be better than that?
And it's a cool book.
And if you want to, we are also available on Patreon. So I uploaded 2 of our newest Who's Your Favorite Artist videos today.
Yes.
So if you want, oh, wait a minute, there we go, 63, you weren't following us? Thanks for the follow, that's
Thank you.
awesome. That's awesome.
You want that book.
He wants the book.
Yeah.
He saw the book.
Yeah.
See, giveaways work.
They do.
Now we're at 149, we're getting there.
We're getting there.
He says sorry. So, Patreon if you like. If you're curious about Patreon, if you click the About tab just below our viewer, you can see the link to our Patreon. You can go there and have a look. It's a monthly subscription fee that you get access to other content. So we make things exclusively for our Patreon people.
Yeah, and we have about 6 or 7 little videos up there right now.
Yeah,
we're
we got
releasing
a
new
few
content
things.
every
We're also
day.
planning an exclusive show just for our Patreon members. So that's going to be coming up around the end of summer. Will be our first one, and we're going to be hosting that on Discord actually. So we're going to be going over to Discord. You'll be live with us. You can actually be on camera if you want. You don't have to be, but you can be. And we're all going to have a discussion there rather than chat. It'll be, you know, with us. So that's actually going to be a really good time. That is for our Patreon peeps. And if you want to, check that out for sure. All right, so that's the end of that. We have a lot of people to talk about tonight, and we have
so
spent
much to talk about.
30 minutes just yammering away.
Yeah.
So should we get down to it?
Sure.
All right, so tonight we have the time capsule back to 1981.
40 years ago.
40 episodes for the large glass.
Yes.
Going back 40 years.
It's a 40 night.
It's
like our age.
We should have drank 40s.
We're 40.
We could have gotten like a 40 of Bulldog beer.
Oh, yeah.
There's a 40 ouncer called
is
Bulldog.
there
Yeah, it's a
really?
malt liquor.
Ooh.
It's horrible.
That's rough. I had like 40 hangovers
I've had
after
it.
that. Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all right.
Dad, I hope you're not watching. Anyway, so let's get down to business and start talking
Yeah, let's
about
get
who we've got.
talking about 1981. So
1981.
this was actually a really fun show because we started looking back at 1981. We were both alive in 1981. We've got our own memories of that age, and this kind of put us back in that spot to when we were younger and what was happening at the time.
Yeah.
So, and I have a whole list of events that happened. It reads like a Billy Joel song, so I'll spare you. Do you remember that song?
Yeah, it was a ripoff of an REM song.
Yeah, well, that's I
Sorry,
just
Billy,
left
but
that
it's
down.
the
well,
truth.
You know what? We can pull our trivia from there, so that's really cool. But so there were a bunch of things that happened that year, a whole bunch, and we're gonna pull. We kind of curated some of the ones that we thought were that we related to the most. This isn't the be-all, end-all. There's a bunch of other things that we're going to mention later on.
There's some we can't really put
There's
on.
some we can't because we'd be censored.
Like Helmut Newton.
Yes.
Helmut Newton was
Which was fantastic.
a big photographer in the
photographer.
1980s, and a great series in 81 that we wanted to show.
Yes.
But nudity and Twitch.
There was nudity, and it was a fantastic. It was, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. I believe it was Seacoleman, which means that they're coming. And it was a series of 4 women, life size, a little bit larger than life, black and white gelatin silver prints. And they were fully dressed in beautiful 1980s fashion. And then the next... it was a diptych. The next portrait showed them in the same positions, the same postures, the same everything, except they were nude, except for heels. And it's a gorgeous photographic series. When you look at it, it brings you back to the 80s. But we were concerned that we would get some kind of censorship.
No, we definitely would.
Yeah,
Dave points out that the AIDS virus was identified in 1981.
It was. Actually, the first AIDS patient was identified in 1981.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And 63 says, too bad. His images are amazing. You can find them on the web. Yeah, in terms of Helmut Newton.
You definitely can.
For sure.
And then there was also an odd nerdrum piece that we can't show. That was a little bit shocking. It's called Twilight. You can look at it on your own. But that was another significant painting that came out, and it shows a woman in the woods with her back to us, and she's...
I'm leaving this one to you.
she's going to the bathroom. So I'm just going to say that in a very polite way. But it's kind of like, the woman's shitting in the woods. So anyway, moving on. That's why we didn't show that. But
Can we talk about Basquiat over here?
Let's talk about Basquiat. When you think about the 80s, Basquiat comes to mind, as well as Andy Warhol.
The thing I love about this is knowing that I was alive in this time period, and actually I wasn't an old guy, I was a kid, but Basquiat and Warhol were alive.
Yeah.
They were alive and working out there, and I feel like I'm fortunate to have been alive during the period of time that these guys were doing their work.
Yeah, so to talk about Basquiat just for a little bit, and I'm on the wrong page
63 is congratulating you for saying a woman was taking a shit in the woods.
Yay.
I think that's good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, but Basquiat, he was a Brooklyn-born painter. 1960 to 1988 he lived. He had immigrant parents, Haitian father, Puerto Rican mother. He was fluent in several languages, English, Spanish, French. His mother was hospitalized at an early age with mental illness, and then he ran away and he started working on the streets with graffiti art. He was known as Samo. Very poetic lines all throughout the city. That was his tag with the Samo. And he released multiple images in 1981 that now sell at Christie's and Sotheby's for $30 million. So we're going to talk about Basquiat for a little bit. And
you've probably all seen Basquiat work now that Basquiat's work has made it into mainstream media. We see his pieces in museums. We see his pieces all over the internet. But you probably saw Basquiat himself without even realizing you saw Basquiat himself. So here's a quick trivia question for you.
Ooh.
Where did Basquiat make an appearance on TV that every single one of you has almost every single one of you has probably seen? And it's like, it's not long, but he's there. Can anyone answer? I bet anything Ben's going to answer this question.
When you say on TV,
yeah,
do you mean a specific? Of course you do.
I'm not going to get that specific about my question, but Basquiat makes an appearance in a very well-known place on TV. He shows up in a thing that you can go watch right now. I'm not going to tell you where it is. I want to see who knows what it is.
I'm wondering if... Okay.
No, don't give any hints, because you know what? Ben already knows. Ben's typing it into the... Don't look it up on the internet either.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about this work?
I can talk about this work. Are we going to talk about the painting beforehand, or are we going to start with this one?
We can talk about the one beforehand. And Ben, no, it's not Johnny Carson.
The one beforehand. So this is a very significant painting. This is Cadillac Moon. The dimensions, I'm just going to give it to you. He worked big. It was 63 3/4 inches by 67 3/4 inches. It's a mixture of acrylic, oil stick on canvas. This painting is you're going to notice a couple things. You're going to notice some repetition in his artworks. You see the A at the bottom. He writes Aaron a couple times. That is an ode to Hank Aaron, whom he admired. It's a lot of childlike imagery sometimes because he's like doodling. And also they say that sometimes the repetition helps with like this prayer, like chanting and everything. The significance of this painting, though, is that it's the very first painting that Basquiat sold, and he sold it to Debbie Harry of Blondie for $200.
$200 to Debbie Harry.
1981.
And there, my friends, is the answer to my trivia question, because Basquiat shows up in Blondie's video Rapture, which is, if you've seen a Blondie video,
Five Freddy Rat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly when he comes in.
Exactly. And so he is actually on that stage, walking across that stage, and you can see him if you look real carefully.
Yeah.
So that's like, that just blows my head off when I realize that Basquiat is in Blondie's video, but she did purchase his first painting.
At the bottom of the painting, you're also going to notice on the lower left, he did sign it Samo, and then he crossed it out, and then he wrote Aaron. The other thing is, this painting later went on tour and was vandalized in Paris with a felt tip pen, but they kind of let it go because they were like, it's Basquiat and graffiti.
Yeah.
So it didn't seem to be as big of a deal as maybe...
Ben says, I don't remember that. Ben, I don't mean to put the pressure on you. You happen to be our trivia master when it comes to those sorts of things. So I just, I figured you might get it, but that's cool. It's a really obscure reference. So
in 1981, he had multiple paintings that were released. So we're going to name a couple of them. This one is Bird on Money. This was an ode to Charlie Parker Bird. You're going to notice a lot of spontaneous array of symbols. There's a lot of reference to improvisation, which Bird was known for. This is acrylic crayon on canvas. It's abstract neo-expressionist style that he's well known for, 66 inches by 90 inches. This was one of his big paintings that was also released.
Well, what I love about Basquiat, and I'm not gonna, Basquiat and Keith Haring were kind of working at the same time, and they're contemporaries. They know one another. They kind of run in the same circle. I think what makes Basquiat's painting so much better, and I'm going to put these in hierarchy. I love Keith Haring. I love Keith Haring.
I love Keith Haring,
but if you gave me the opportunity to have a Keith Haring painting or a Basquiat painting, I'm absolutely picking a Basquiat. And the reason is because he took the language of his street art, the language of his graffiti, and he fused it with the language of painting. Haring took street art and made it into paintings. Which is it's like a one-to-one kind of transfer, right? In this case, these now become something else, and that's what I really love about him. I find him unique in that way.
Well, there's a poetry in Basquiat too. Every so often, I revisit his work because I have his books and stuff like that, and every time I revisit, I'm like, the enchantment comes back. I remember how good he is and why I love him. He was so brilliant.
63 says, and Haring moved towards design, and I think that's true. That's true. I love seeing Haring. Like there's this one video where he gets off a subway car and he actually walks right up and he starts drawing right in the subway, and I love seeing that. Right. I'm not saying anything necessarily against Haring.
Yeah.
I just feel like the way the two dealt with a similar genre is very different, and I just have a preference for one.
Yep, and we're going to show one more image from 1981. Even though there's multiple, he released many paintings that year. So 1981 was a big year for Basquiat.
And you'll learn a little bit more about if you happen to be the one who gets the book, great. If you happen to be out there on Amazon and you want a great art book to add to your collection, that Basquiat's notebook is a fantastic book.
It really is,
because it's kind of a raw look at the way in which he worked. So definitely pick that up if you don't win it tonight.
You can,
Angus Ron is like, yes, Basquiat all day long. I'm with you there completely.
I'm going to talk about this painting real quick. This is called Lahara. It is 72 inches by 47.75 inches, acrylic and oil stick on a wood panel. It's basically depicting a skeletal police officer. Lahara is Puerto Rican slang for police officer. The origins of that came from in the 1950s and 1960s, a lot of police officers in New York City, they're saying the last name O'Hara was very common. So this is how the slang of Lahara evolved.
No kidding.
Yeah, and that's why you see it multiplied in several lines there. He repeats it in this poetic chant. It was a popular Irish surname back then.
Well,
so.
And
it still is. I mean,
it makes sense, but I love the connection you make there. That's really cool.
In 2017, this painting sold at Christie's for $35 million, much in as many of his paintings did. Lots of his paintings went for that.
I mean, when we hear about those numbers of how these things are selling now, I really just, and not because I want to capitalize on the growth of something like that, but I wish I would have been one of those people that was alive in the day where it was sort of like, you see Basquiat sketching something down like Debbie Harry did, and just bought it because she loved it, right? Which is kind of what we do now anyway, right? But gosh, man, to pick up a guy's work like this back then would just been, brilliant.
Yeah.
And we still can now, but.
I just love the energy of his mark making and the color choices that he uses. It's just such a lively composition.
Ben says, I was just about to say, it looks like a police officer and a robot combined. Yeah. It does. And those red eyes, it's fierce, right? 63 says, I also love that he wasn't wed to any paint material, oil, acrylic, oil stick, house paint, pencil, dirt, whatever.
Yeah, and actually this painting came about because there was an art gallery owner that took him in. He was working on a film, and they wanted him to create paintings for the film, and he had still been living on the streets or with his girlfriend at the time, and this person's name was forgive me, I don't know how to pronounce it because that's typical of me, but Anina Nossi, she had a gallery in Soho, and she took him in and she bought him all the materials, the mediums, the canvases, and he just got to work creating. And that's one of the reasons why 1981 was such a prolific year for him, is because he had that kind of
access to that stuff,
access to the materials.
But to 63's comment, in the true sort of creative desperation of a street artist or a graffiti artist, it's like anything goes.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why a lot of graffiti artists did what they did on walls and still do, is because it's an available surface to be expressive. You go ahead. How big is this painting again? Can you tell us, please?
Yeah, 72 inches by 47.75.
Okay, so that's 6 foot by 4 foot, right? I want you to go into Blick, or I want you to go to, Jerry's Artorama, and ask them how much a canvas that is 6 foot by 4 foot will cost you. And it's going to be well north of $200 for a decent one, right? And so if you're a street artist or you're an you don't have the privilege to be able to buy those things, it's like, well, I guess I'm not painting on canvas, but I've got to, like, we know this. It's like when you're called to paint, you paint.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter where it is.
Yep. So that's Basquiat. We're going to keep moving because we've got like a lot of artists.
She's shutting me down. She's shutting me down. Oh my God, I don't know who this is.
This guy
I've never seen this guy before in my life.
Andy Warhol. He also, of course, Andy Warhol. Who doesn't know?
And we're not going to spend a lot of time on Andy Warhol.
We're not going to spend a lot of time. He was known in 1981. He had a couple of important pieces come out. He is responsible for putting Basquiat on the map. But he also had a Crosses series that was out that year.
Yeah.
But the other big
not
series,
not one of his better series.
It's not my favorite, but he did come out with this other series, the Myth series.
Yeah.
And this is it right here. It was a series of 10 screen prints. Fictional characters from pop culture, his childhood, people he looked up to. There's a couple people depicted here. This was exhibited at the Ronald Feldman Fine Arts Gallery. The dimensions are typically 38 inches by 38 inches for each one.
Right.
We have Dracula, we have Howdy Doody, we have Santa Claus, we have Mammy, we have Mickey Mouse, Superman, we have the witch from The Wizard of Oz. It was Margaret Hamilton's character. We also have the Star, which is Greta Garbo. That's who he used for the model of that. We have Uncle Sam, and then we have the Shadow. And for the Shadow, you also see Andy Warhol in that image. He put himself in there.
The man, the myth.
The man, the myth, the legend. Screen printed on Lenox Museum board. Several were actually embellished with diamond dust.
Oh my God.
To make it a little bit more, pop culture icons, his idols, his obsessions, he placed himself among those.
Ben says, look up Andy eating a Burger King burger. And Ben mentioned before in the chat, he said, I am Andy Warhol and I am eating a Burger King hamburger.
Yeah, well, it's a whole short video, like 2 minutes long, of him just unwrapping a burger and eating it.
Yeah.
And that's it. No, he's not talking or anything like that.
There's another famous interview with Andy Warhol where the interviewer is asking him all these questions, and in response to all the questions, Andy Warhol just keeps holding up a camera and taking a picture of him. He doesn't answer anything. He just keeps taking a picture of him, which is like, it's fantastically this guy, right?
Yeah.
So
that was Andy Warhol's big pieces in 1981.
Gary says, even I've heard of Andy Warhol.
Yes.
So.
We love Andy Warhol.
We do. It's not that we don't want to spend time on it, but we got so many
more
to do tonight.
Giving you an overview.
All right. So this is a set of paintings that I actually was really looking forward to kind of, chatting about.
So another significant piece that I've been mispronouncing all week, and I'm not going to mispronounce it right now. So this is Aubrey Williams. He is a Guyanese painter. He works with abstract expressionism, forms, images, symbols. He's inspired by pre-Columbian art, indigenous peoples of the Americas. It's the Shostakovich series.
Very good.
Nicely
done. Shostakovich.
This was a series he worked on from 1969, and he completed it in 1981. What he did is he focused on the works of Russian composer Dmitri Shostakovich, And all of the symphonies, quartets, the movements, he did a painting to each one. And he really was interested in the visual connotations and the feelings that he felt when he was listening to the music. He was heavily influenced by him as a teen.
Well, and he understood that in history, especially in modernist history with painting, there's always been a connection between music and painting. So if you look at the work of Kandinsky, for example, or if you look at the work of Jackson Pollock, for example, you know, they were always talking about how, like, Pollock would make references to jazz and Kandinsky would make references to classical pieces, in how the actual visual components of the work they were making and the music that they were listening to while they were making it had an actual connection. And Aubrey Williams is really trying to dig into that with these Shostakovich pieces, and I think he does it, you know, pretty well. And I also like to think of the notion that if he didn't do it well, right? You know, Aubrey Williams, if he wasn't hitting the mark here, and he did, and then sometimes he didn't, but let's say he didn't. Dmitri Shostakovich's sort of life under Stalin as a composer during those times was also a hit and miss situation of both trying to compose what it was he wanted to make and also trying not to get himself sent to the gulag.
Sure.
So,
well, when he first started painting this series too, he didn't quite, there was a lot of floundering. He was doing a lot of experimentation. He was thinking about symbolism and the best way to depict this music that he was listening to.
Sure.
And around Shostakovich's death in 1975, that's when he really started honing in a little bit more and finding his groove with this series of paintings.
Yeah, and I really find it to be interesting that the two of them almost paralleled one another in the way in which Aubrey Williams struggled with the work, Dmitri Shostakovich struggled with the politics and thus the work.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is just, it's really quite interesting. And I'm sure Aubrey Williams is sort of, you know, had a political aspect to his struggle as well. But, you know.
I know that one of the things he admired about Shostakovich was the world music feeling of it, because Shostakovich, sometimes he would allude to some jazz in his compositions, or he said he even heard like a little bit of a mamba in one of the
yeah, and as a Guyanese painter, he appreciated the world music openness that Shostakovich had in how he built his compositions. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
So this guy is like, you know, now, so we like presenting to you in this sort of 1981 time capsule some people you've heard of, and some people maybe you didn't hear of. So, you know, hopefully.
And
so
some people we want to
absolutely.
read, so,
and I want to look up, so in our notes here, I think this is going to be one of those that's middle of the road. This is not Andy Warhol. This is not Aubrey Williams. But this is one I think that some people are going to recognize right off the bat. So this guy.
Do y'all know who this guy is?
Francis Bacon
is Francis Bacon.
So Terry and I are on two different paths with Francis Bacon.
Yes,
is that right? Can I say that?
We could say that.
I love this guy.
Yeah. You probably love him for the same reasons I'm uncomfortable with him.
Okay.
Very raw imagery, a little bit unsettling. I love his studio. Like, that's like a
Well, I have a little video.
studio.
I have a little video we can show.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but hold on. Let's pull up one more image here of the work.
So
let's talk about
this was the important piece that he did in 1981. So this is the triptych inspired by Orestia
Aeschylus.
Aeschylus?
It's Greek myth. Its pronunciations are always.
Yes.
Angus Ron says, one of my faves. Yeah, Angus Ron also really liked when we were talking about.
Sorry, just answering Gary Palker's question. This is a painting, sorry.
Yes, this is a painting.
Angus Ron.
But Angus Ron also really liked, with me, the later pieces by Goya, right? So where
that is true. You both liked that more
same
disturbing kind of.
Well, there's something. I mean, it's not about the disturbingness of it. But let's look at each.
That's the movement. That's how art is moving.
Let's look at each of these panels individually.
Okay, so it's 3 panels. That's what the work is comprised of. They are each 78 inches by 58.1 inches. It's a trilogy. And each panel depicts the whole three tales of revenge. So the first panel depicts the murder of King Agamemnon after the siege of Troy, and Queen Clytemnestra murdered him because he sacrificed their daughter for safety.
I love that.
So that's what happened with that. The second panel is that Orestes murders Clytemnestra for killing his father, who sacrificed the daughter. And then the third one is Orestes is pursued by Erinyes, which is known as Furies, which is the three female deities of vengeance. So it's this very complex mythological scenario going on. He doesn't necessarily depict people. It's more, there's some like Christian altarpiece feel to it. He uses these fleshy pieces of the body, and it's a little gory, and there's orifices, and it's very grotesque and physical. Like when you look at it, like that's the kind of
I'm so glad you're doing all of this
stuff.
I love that.
That's the kind of stuff I'm seeing.
You guys need to check out this video, though. We've got a video. It's a very rare, so it's very rare to see Francis Bacon in his studio. So as you're seeing him, pay attention to the background a little bit. He historically had one of the most absolutely messy studios on the planet, but he said he worked better that way. Mm-hmm. But and oftentimes Francis Bacon, who has it's challenging to hear him talk sometimes, because sometimes he is brilliant and on the mark, and other times it almost feels like he has absolutely nothing to say about his work. But I think this video actually is really quite good. So let's take a look at this for a second. Have a listen.
I know I drift in my conversation between the expression violence, but I think that and immediacy. I think immediacy is a better one than violence, because violence has all sorts of implications which immediacy doesn't give, because immediacy is just about the immediate object there before you. But then you must never forget that every object has its passions. It has its implications, no matter who they are. If I could record you 5 people in this room, how could I do it? I could illustrate you, and what good would that be? But how can I make the immediacy and the different suggestion by your very contours, by the difference in your faces, by the difference in your shapes? How can I make those things with, you may say, I have to use the word violence that you have here, within the studio, in this enclosed space. 5 living people. How could I make this thing? I could illustrate it, and that would say nothing. But how can I find, how will accident work for me so that I can record you? Irrationally.
Why do you want to record us?
Because after all, life, we have the short moment of existence.
It's a way of making it permanent, in other words.
It's a way, as they talk about Proust, of crystallizing time and of crystallizing the moment of one's existence, and that's all one has. Why one wants to do this, you may say, is a mystery. Because we shan't ever know whether we've done it, and perhaps it's a way of passing the time.
I actually really enjoyed that. That was intense.
Well, what I love about that is, imagine being one of the 5 people who is in this man's studio, who was, I don't want to call Francis Bacon a madman, but he was a madman. He was he was out there, and these 5 people are there to interview him, and he says, well, how could I depict the 5 living people here in the studio? And I could illustrate it, but what good would that do? Mm-hmm. So I need to, what he's doing is he's talking about violence, not in the sense of, I'm gonna hack you up, or in the sense that these body parts that sort of appear in his pieces, and this flesh tones and this kind of like feeling of mortality. He's not talking about that. The violence is the act that gives life to the image. He sees the illustration. He says, I could illustrate you, but what good would that do? Illustrating is just kind of a dumb, I'm not saying illustration is dumb. I'm saying the act of illustrating the 5 people in the room with him is a very sort of lifeless pursuit. It's not going to give the feeling of the 5 of them in that room. And of course, the feeling of the 5 of them in that close space with all that clutter, all that brilliance, all that beauty and disaster, all together with the tension between Bacon and those people that were interviewing him, you can't get that from an illustration.
Yeah.
So you're going to get that from something that has a much more sort of visceral kind of feeling to it, right?
And that's definitely how his paintings are. You can feel
Totally.
that
63 liked the video. He says, great video. And then Gary says,
Yes.
he is in another dimension, but fascinating. He totally is. He's
Indeed.
out there.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there's so little material like that
Yeah.
available. So you're left with his paintings. But I
Yeah.
think he probably is okay with that,
Yeah.
right? Because to him, those paintings captured that essence
They certainly did.
for what it's worth.
They certainly did. Just on a side note, though, this, because, I'm always looking at art and what it sells for and stuff like that. So this particular piece, the triptych, did sell at Sotheby's in last year, June 29th. And it sold for $84,550,000.
I mean, I guess this is appropriate because we're talking about the 80s, which was
Yeah.
the decade of that kind of excessiveness. So I guess we'll plug in the numbers
Yeah,
on this
I
one.
think it's good to see where it ends up now. But he is a fascinating figure and fascinating art. And glad he's part of our 1981 collection.
I love him.
Yes.
I love him. And then there's this
indeed.
guy.
Okay,
I
this
mean,
guy.
this guy.
Where are you, sir, in my notes?
Well, okay, so I can start talking about this guy.
Well, I have plenty to say about him too, but you go. You go.
All right, so Richard Serra, who considers himself to be the most important sculptor of the 20th century, and he will tell you he is the most important sculptor of the 20th century. Now, I would like you to think for a moment how you'd feel about me if I told you I was the most important artist of the 20th century. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't have hundreds of feet of Core-10 steel installed all over the world, so I'm not saying that this statement that he makes about himself is without some kind of foundation. I will give to him that he has some street cred, okay? Oh, there's Memory Vessel.
Hey.
So late, but wanted to see if I could catch the end of your show. Welcome. We're
Yeah.
glad you're here.
We didn't give away the book yet.
We didn't give away. Oh,
so
shoot. We got to start the.
We gotta start that.
Oh, my God. I didn't start the giveaway.
We're gonna start the giveaway.
We waited for Memory Vessel to get here.
There you go.
You know what I'm
You're
going to do, though? I'm
in.
going to have to edit this a little bit because I've got this on a 30-minute timer.
Okay,
and
no
we don't have
problem.
30 minutes left.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to
We
put
can
this
do
on
like
a
10 minutes.
I'm going to put this on a
15
15-minute timer.
We have a couple artists to talk about, so we'll definitely hit the 15-minute mark.
All right. Well, anyway, for what it's worth.
Yeah, well, Richard Serra, though, at the time that the next piece was done, and you're talking about him and how he feels that he's the most important artist, at the time in 1981, he was a 40-year-old Yale graduate, and he was one of the leading minimalist sculptors of his day. So the next piece that we're going to talk about, did you want to keep talking about him a little
Well, I mean, I don't mind talking about him a little bit. I mean, with Richard Serra, there's some works of his that I am just absolutely in love with. I mean, actually, most of his work I really actually quite enjoy. Him, I walked past him on the street one day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Glenn and I were together, and he walked right by us, and I'm in the middle of talking to Glenn, so I don't see him, and Glenn sees him, and Glenn goes, holy shit, that was Richard Serra. And we spin around and look, and he heard Glenn say it. He spins around and look, and he ran. He ran!
He ran.
I mean, I'm like, I want to talk to the guy. One last Richard Serra thing really quickly.
Yeah.
When I was in my undergraduate, and I was a sculpture major when I was going to college, Richard Serra's brother, Rudy Serra, actually started teaching sculpture at Rutgers Mason Gross School of the Arts.
Ooh.
Right? So get this. Imagine you're going through the course catalog and you're looking at who's teaching sculpture because you have to take it. And you're like, all right, which professor am I going to take? They didn't use his full name. So it said like Sculpture 4 with R. Serra. And I'm like, holy shit, Richard Serra's teaching sculpture. Everybody scrambled to get in it. And then I felt bad for his brother because you get there, you're like, who are you? He's like, I'm Rudy Serra. Any relation to Richard? He's like, yeah, I'm his brother. And then everybody's like, oh.
Yeah.
I felt bad. He was good. He was
Yeah.
a good teacher. He was a good teacher. But it, and I mean, I don't know. I think learning from this guy might have been nearly impossible. And why would he go teach anyway? I mean, he's like, he's all over the world. 63 says, hey, he was teaching at Bennington when I was first there. Had the same Rudy Serra was.
Rudy.
Yeah. Now, Rudy Serra's a good guy.
Yeah.
Probably a lot nicer
He's
than
probably a lot
his
nicer
brother
than
Richard.
His brother.
So,
yeah.
all right. So, Mom throws in 10,000 viewer loyalty points.
She wants
She's
that
gonna win a
book.
book again.
She wants that book, but you guys can all do this.
All right, so here's how the giveaway works for those of you who are new to the system. All right, you are going to type in to the chat. How does it work exactly? It is exclamation point. Hold on, let me look at it and make sure I get it because only Mom is in this right now. I'm looking at the chat. You have to type in exclamation point raffle, all one word. Exclamation point raffle, space, and a number between 1 and 10,000. Now that number is dependent on how many viewer loyalty points you have. The more you put in there, the better the chance you have of winning. So go ahead and enter that because we want people in this. And there we go. We got people going in. Pumpkin Audrey's in there. Carolyn Thau is in there. That's what we like to see.
Marianne's phone number is 228-3968.
I'm calling Marianne right now.
I wonder if she still has that phone number, whoever Marianne is.
Do you think it was a 212 number?
I don't know.
Do you think she gets a lot of calls?
Maybe.
Should we try?
Maybe.
Go back to her page,
Here's
please.
Little Doodle. Little Doodle.
229. What's her number? 212
228
228
3968.
3968.
Are you going to do it?
This is Marianne.
You can put her on speaker?
Let's put her on speaker. Oh, Marianne's
The
not.
number you dialed is not in service.
All right, so Marianne's not there anymore.
She's not there anymore.
Sorry, that's ridiculous. We should be talking about Richard Serra, not acting like a bunch of
Let's
kids.
talk about Richard. But this is the book that you can win, so put your stuff in there right now.
Yes, Angus Ron is getting in there.
Yeah.
Gary, don't forget to put a space
Amanda
between
Toolan's
raffle
in.
and the 5, right?
Try 867-5309.
5309. Yeah, I have a feeling that's. By now, that needs to have been made into an iconic message that you get.
Is that in 81?
I don't know.
No, I think that might be later 80s.
It'd be great if it was like, hi, this is Jenny. I'm sorry, I'm out with your friend right now.
Yeah.
But if you ever think you're going to land me, it's probably not going to happen. But you're going to get a hit song out of the deal. You're going to be on a popular soap opera, and then your life's just going to wash up.
And there you go. No, that's not Rick Springfield. Is it? Is that who you're referring to? He didn't sing that.
No, Tommy Tone?
Yes, Tommy Two-Tone.
Not Two-Tone. It's not. Wait, who sang that?
Who sang
Tommy
that?
Toon.
Type
Tommy
it in
Toon.
the chat.
It's Tommy Toon sang that.
Yeah. All right. Richard Serra.
Yeah, Tilted Arc. Let's talk about that.
Tilted Arc.
Let's stop talking.
1981 in the Foley Federal Plaza in Manhattan. 120 feet long, 12 feet high. Unfinished plated rust. It was colored Corten steel. This was part of a project by the U.S. General Services Administration Art and Architecture Program. They decided that public space needed some artwork, and Richard Serra was selected because of his credentials and where he was at during the time. And this was the piece that he created. It is very controversial, much like a lot of the artwork in 1981, but art sometimes is controversial. A lot of advocates for it and a lot of critics for it. So the piece was designed to interact with people. It is a site-specific project. He wanted to manipulate the space so that the people passing through could experience it in different ways. The people passing through were usually commuters in a hurry, so this presented more of an obstacle than something to be cherished.
People complained because they had to go around the piece.
Complained because it held them up a little bit. They thought it wasn't very attractive because it was this piece of metal and it was designed to rust and age and oxidize in the environment. That was actually all preconceived by Richard Serra when he installed it. The advocates for the piece said it was transformative. It was this advanced concept in sculpture. The perspective changes as you move around it. So this went on for several years. There's actually a federal lawsuit that came up to remove it, and in that federal lawsuit, it was taken down in 1989. I will point out some of the famous advocates to maintaining the sculpture in that area was Keith Haring, Claus Oldenburg. We had Philip Glass. They all spoke out to keep this sculpture in place. Richard Serra never wanted this moved to another area. He thought it belonged right where it was, and when it was taken down, he refused to have it transplanted somewhere else.
Right, he packed it up and put it away.
Yeah.
I have to say, I remember once I was either in the car on a highway or on a train next to a train line, and I actually saw a freight train that had a Richard Serra piece in pieces on these flat cars. And we're going by, and I looked at it, I said, oh my God, that's a Richard Serra piece, like in pieces. And it was enormous, and it was just kind of fascinating to see it like in its sort of pre-installed state, which was really exciting.
Do you recall seeing this back in the day?
I
no?
did not see this
I
when
never
it
saw
was
this
up
back
in
the day
person.
either,
It was taken down before I ever got a chance to see it. I mean, this is a long time ago. I mean, I was 12 when this was up. So so no. But Richard Serra's work, this Core 10 steel, these tilted arc-like pieces, or these torqued ellipses that he makes, which you can go see at Mass MoCA. Dia Beacon has the torqued ellipses, and they're just fantastic pieces.
Yeah.
So do I have there's a top view of it. I love that beam of sunlight that's striking it. It's
other criticisms was that it blocked the view, it was something to walk around, and it made the commute longer. So there were a lot of criticisms to the piece.
Glenn is here, and he's been commenting on the other chat. He's over there on Facebook, and he said Tommy Two-Tone.
Thank you.
And then he said someone was mugged there.
Someone was mugged there.
Which is what I think started the backlash, Glenn Lavertu just said.
Possibly.
And I believe that to be true. I also was wondering, Glenn, and you might be able to confirm this for me. Whoa, Memory Vessel just gifted a tier 1 sub to Ben Hagenbush. That's awesome. Thank you for that. That's cool. Ben, you just got yourself a tier 1 subscription from Memory Vessel. Glenn, confirm this for me. Was it one of Richard Serra pieces that fell over and killed somebody in the gallery, or was that I'm pretty sure it was a Serra piece, but it was long before 81, if I'm not mistaken. But without my reference material at my fingertips, it's too bad I don't have a computer in front of me that I could look this stuff up on. But 63 says yes. Yes.
Huh. Okay.
So, all right, cool. So what else do I have here? I don't have anything else from Serra, but we're moving on.
We're moving on. So this is another controversial artist. He's probably not as well known as some of the other artists that we were talking about tonight. But this was occurring in the state of Washington, and this is, well, we covered a lot of artists.
Sorry about that. I should have been Michael
That's okay.
Spafford.
This is Michael Spafford, and this occurred. So what he did is, big piece, 1981, he did the 12 Labors of Hercules. The House of Representatives chamber in Washington State Capitol, what they did is they put a call out to, they wanted some art in the 1920s building.
Right.
So they put out a call for art, and they granted it towards Michael Spafford. What he did was he created these very large murals that depicted the 12 Labors of Hercules, which was a commentary on the critique of the legislative process. So it was a little bit controversial,
a little bit of a bite to it
from the beginning.
Good.
Black and white, modern piece. When it was created and being installed, that's when they started realizing that the critics were saying this probably wasn't appropriate for a public building.
Why?
In fact, class trips were being canceled because of its presence, because they thought it was a little too pornographic. So...
Is this the part where Todd goes on his rant? Is this the part?
Does that look pornographic to you?
I mean, okay, fine.
Okay,
fine.
so I guess like
if
you can kind of
want,
see it. There's
if you
a little
want
bit of,
to see,
stuff going on.
If you want to see sex in this, you can.
Sure, it's
you
like
can.
a Rorschach. In
Right.
the Rorschach, you can see all kinds of stuff.
That's right. However, I think being able to extract what might be a little bit of sex in a scene doesn't necessarily make something pornographic.
Well, I see sex now because we've suggested it.
Right, but here's a little trick you can do. Okay, let's talk about positive negative space relationships. Flip these.
Yes.
Flip these. Make these about the white space. Make them flip for your eye, and they become something entirely different. Right? So, is nudity actually pornographic? Yeah, there's a good question, 63. I appreciate that, actually. Oh,
Yeah.
John Park says, went to the 40-year show at the moment. This is back to Richard Serra.
Okay.
It might not be, hang on, I need glasses.
It might not be the be-all, end-all, but it was very impressive. That floor was designed evidently to be able to hold those works.
Yeah.
It worked better in the enclosed space than at the larger
Dia Beacon.
Beacon.
That's a really interesting, you know what, I didn't get to see that show, actually, at the MoMA, but I wondered that, because Dia Beacon's space is so massive that the space almost becomes a non-issue with the pieces. Now, I also saw those pieces at Gagosian Gallery. Now, Gagosian is considerably smaller. Not that Gagosian is small by anyone's standards, but I saw the torqued ellipses at Gagosian as well, and that was a very different relationship a person had to the sculpture, because the space became part of the environment. Whereas at Dia Beacon, it's just like, the only reason you know you're inside is because somewhere up there's a roof.
Oh, wow.
Right, and that's a really good point, actually. Pumpkin Audrey says, love this. You guys are having fun with it.
We
Yeah.
are.
Well, I mean,
1981 was a fun year.
you know, there's certain topics in the world of art where we can, really sort of have a good conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that whole notion of what is considered. Oh my God, I just said a line from a George Michael song, and it wasn't from 81. It was probably from 87, but I was just like, what is considered pornography?
What do you call pornography?
Which is George Michael's first hit song after he left Wham.
Oh, no.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
No.
That's a different topic for a different time. Yes, it is. I Want Your Sex by George Michael was his first
Trying to
big
think.
hit
Well,
after
Monkey-
Wham.
Okay, but this isn't a music show. Because I'm
This
like,
is
well,
not a
then
show
there was
about music.
Monkey, and then, okay.
That wasn't a big hit.
That was a big hit.
We're going to take this one off the air when we're done with all of you.
Yeah.
We'll let you know how it goes.
Okay.
Look it up. What was George
Yes.
Michael's first big hit
I guess.
after he was with Wham?
Anyway.
Ben Hagenbush says nudity is not pornographic. I happen to agree. John Park says
agree.
exactly. The huge work in the smaller space really made the point. Yeah, that's the thing about those pieces, I think, because number one, in the torqued ellipses, you're able to walk inside of them, right? And there's usually a passage. Now, some were nested. You had a torqued ellipse. So imagine that tilted arc that you saw in the World Trade Center that we saw turned into a circular form, right? And it sat like an ellipse, but torqued over on its side a little bit. And it almost felt impossible that it could stand. But in a couple of the pieces, there was one sitting inside of another. And in order to get to the inside, you had the entrance to the outer one here, and then you'd go around, and the inner one's entrance might be back here. And so you could walk around and then wind up in the center of the two pieces. But the trek between the two, as the walls leaned over on you, your relationship to that space was intense.
Wow.
When you coupled that with the size of the space they actually sat in, it did really radically change the way that felt. I love John Park's comment on that. Ben says Todd is right. Well, Ben, that's a general statement. That's usually true. I hope you're talking about everything. But you're probably talking about the George Michael.
You probably are.
So, and the walls are angled, made you really dizzy walking through. Yeah, you found yourself all of a sudden, you're walking through like this, which was very, very strange experience. And we've completely left Michael Spafford behind.
So Michael Spafford's
which is
work,
fine.
Pornography takes you to interesting places. But anyway, they said the work was too pornographic. So it was actually covered up with plywood for a while, and it went to court because people wanted it to be removed.
And then it was removed.
And it was removed. I believe he got paid in the ballpark of like $30,000 when everything was said and done, but taxpayer money to remove it and the court costs and all that was like $500,000. So the state spent a lot of money on this whole project. Right now, the piece, The 12 Labors of Hercules, is at Centralia College. It was moved there in 2002. But a fascinating look at
A side
piece
note.
in 1981.
A side note, and I don't have the piece to put up on the screen here, but the piece that replaced Michael Spafford's piece when it was taken down
Yeah.
was an abstracted painting.
Also taken down.
Also taken down.
Because it was too abstract.
It was too abstract. So what do we learn here? Well, one, I think that number one, politicians should never be in charge of
No.
decorating, or at least hanging art in this case, because hanging art and decorating are two very distinctly different things. So let's not confuse them. But politicians should never be allowed to hang the art, number one. That's what committees are for, right? And then once it's hung, learn to live with it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've hung something because for the specific reason that I had a hard time with it. And you want to know what? Over the time you spend with it, your relationship to it changes. So if Michael Spafford's piece had been allowed to spend that time where it was supposed to be, it might have actually said something to people. It could have changed legislature.
Yeah.
It could have changed the way people viewed art.
Yeah.
Right? Memory Vessel's like, break it on down.
Yeah.
He's off.
But that's the beauty of abstract art too. You can see so many things in it. So I feel like it just wasn't given
yeah, but they
the
just
chance.
they
They
were
just
like,
tore it down, and so it's a shame. But alas, Michael Spafford, big deal in 1981.
I'm trying to remember the name of the book by Mo Willems about the pigeon needing a bath. I think it's The Pigeon Needs a Bath.
Probably.
It's not Don't Let
Is it I'm Too Tired or whatever?
No. That's Don't Let the Pigeon Stay Up Late. This one's The Pigeon Needs a Bath.
Okay. Mo Willems is also a fantastic
The reason
Brooklyn
I'm saying
artist.
that is you get to this part in the book where there's like all these little cells drawn because he doesn't want to take the bath, and he's like too warm, too cold, too many toys, not enough toys, too full, too empty. And it's like, this is how I feel. These guys are too abstract, too pornographic. Like nobody's ever satisfied.
I think in the fall, do a live show with teenies. I agree, Audrey.
I agree, Audrey.
Yeah.
But you're probably wondering, if you've been on this long enough and you subscribe to our newsletter and you know that we've actually been building the physical real teenies, you probably have not heard us talk about it for a couple of shows. Here's part of the reason, okay? Building materials are 5 times what they used to be. So now when you need a sheet of plywood, which used to be about $40 or $50, you go into a store, and no, the plywood's not 5 times what it used to be, but it's over $100 for a sheet of plywood if you can even get it. So there is a fairly large shortage going on right now. Memory Vessel says, is Teenies a van?
Wait a minute.
Should we tell them?
Well, we can tell them.
Because that was exclusive Patreon content, but we're past that point now.
Patreon content several weeks ago.
Yeah.
There is a vintage.
So we have an addition to the large glasses.
We do.
Thank you, Memory Vessel, for bringing this up. We are going to talk. Let's talk about it.
Yes, it's a vintage Volkswagen.
So we got our hands on, and this is thanks to the 100 Art Tour.
Westphalia.
Yes. We were out tooling around looking for studios to
we
go
were
and visit.
actually on our way to Terri Fraser's studio.
We're going to see Terri Fraser's studio.
And on that road, there was a van on the side of the road with a for sale sign in it.
A 1987 Volkswagen Westphalia.
Super sweet.
Yeah.
Great condition.
And the
Stuff
guy who was
works in
selling
there.
it inherited it from his parents. They had used it twice to go cross country. It's got 60,000 original miles on it. I opened the lid that covered the stainless steel stove, and the blue protective plastic was still on it. And my head just exploded. Now, I've had 2 of these in the past when I was growing up, and I won't even tell you the stupid things I did with them. But I'm a Volkswagen enthusiast. I love the camper van dearly, and we thought, we're going to take the show, the large glass, on the road. And one of the places we really want to go right now, is we want to go to Mass Mocha. Because number one, there's a James Turrell piece.
There is a James Turrell piece.
There's a Laurie Anderson piece. And we want to go and see these things. So, sorry if I'm a spoiler. You're not a spoiler. We've been talking about sharing this.
This is the new camper. We did name it.
It has a name.
Can you guess what the name is?
The name, of course, has to do with something that
Du
Champion. So
the name is
Kittycraft Infinity says, sounds great. Ben Hagen says, this is the new camper.
The new camper.
The camper's name is
Marcel.
So Marcel is going to be going on the road, and we're going to actually be doing some filming from there. I don't know if we'll be going live because of technology.
Yeah.
But it is not the Mystery Machine, Ben.
It's not the Mystery Machine. It's Marcel. So we're very excited.
Yeah, we're very excited. So hopefully we'll be able to have all of you guys out to check that out.
Yeah.
Michael Spafford is the last artist we have tonight, so we need to run that raffle.
Let's run that raffle.
To make sure one of you gets that. I'm
And
gonna go
there were a lot of artists back in 1981 that we didn't gloss over, but this is only an hour and change show, so we couldn't cover everybody. Look at some of them. I'm gonna just kind of read a couple things that came out that year that you might want to look at.
Do you want to share that?
In London, Tony Craig's Britain is Seen from the North. John Doubleday did Leicester.
I can't see your notes.
Okay,
I don't have my
that's fine.
glasses on.
Nabil Kanzo, he was a Lebanese artist. He did a Dream Vision series that was very famous that year. There was also Ellsworth Kelly. He did Curve 24. It was a sculpture out in the West. And that was pretty interesting because it was very thin but very large. And it was a fan shaped. It was very gestural of a sail and stuff like that. So there were lots and lots of pieces out in that time period. So just not enough time.
Do you guys want to see Marcel? I can show it. It might take a second, actually. Isn't it fun when I hit the wrong button?
Whoops.
All right, let's see if I can get this fixed quickly enough so that you can all see Marcel. And I will play this little video for you so you can get an idea. Hold on one second, here we go. Hi Patreon. So we wanted to tell you guys first, before we tell everybody on the Large Glass Show, that we have a new addition to the family. And of course, in keeping with all of our Marcel Duchamp naming, we decided to name it
Marcel!
So this is Marcel. We wanted to have a little toast. We're of course not gonna drink and drive, but we wanted to toast Marcel with you, our Patreon peeps. We got this really cheap. We're actually gonna take this out on the road, visit museums, visit galleries. This is where we're gonna hopefully shoot some really cool video from. We wanted you guys to be the first to know. So, cheers.
Cheers.
I'd break this over Marcel's, but this is an antique. I don't wanna hurt it.
Vintage.
She's vintage. Cheers. All right, that's the end of that. But we thought we would just show you that. So, thanks. Oh, Christina McKinnon's here.
Oh.
Hey.
Yay.
Good to see you.
Hello.
All right, so let's do the giveaway now.
Let's.
I'm just gonna put this out there for the long enough. You know that I always do a giveaway precursor with these words. Okay. My mother seems to. First of all, the end pick of all of you who went in there is random.
Is random.
The only thing that weights that thing in any way, shape, or form is the fact that you spent more viewer loyalty points than someone else. And for some reason, my mother always wins, and I don't understand why. And if she wins this one, and every time I do this speech, she wins it, and then my head hits the desk, and I just hit the outro, and we're done for the night. Good job, Mom. But I swear you got to give someone else a chance. Although Carolyn did win once, so that was good. So I'm gonna hit the button, and the software is gonna pick who wins this book. Okay. Memory Vessel says, "Nah, it's Mom raffle all the time." All right, I'm just gonna turn my back. Are you ready? We're gonna do this. Why won't it let me pick the winner? Why won't it let me pick the winner?
I don't know.
It's saying I can't pick a winner.
Well, there's 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Oh, hold on. Let me refresh the page.
Refresh.
Something's wrong with it. It's broken.
We can always write those names down and toss them in the hat if we have to.
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Let's just go back. I think what's going to happen is it's just going to refresh. We'll go here. And now we can pick a winner. All right,
Pick
here we
a
go.
winner.
I am going to click the button. Carolyn Thau!
Wow.
All right, Carolyn. And she said, please let it be me.
It's you.
All right, Carolyn,
Yeah, no,
you
this is
are the
great.
winner.
You're going to love this.
You're gonna love
This
this
is
book.
such an awesome book. It really, really is.
And we're going to ship it directly to you, Carolyn. So I'm going to need your home address at some point. Please don't put it in the chat because, you know.
Yeah.
Pumpkin Audrey says frozen screen. Are we still frozen?
Oh, are we frozen?
Are we freezing?
Are we?
Tell us if we were able to be seen. Carolyn Thau won. Yes,
Yes.
Carolyn Thau did win. Can you guys see us okay? Can you still hear us?
cool.
Are we good? It says
book.
Carolyn won. Are we frozen?
I don't think so.
No, it says we're good here.
Yeah.
Everything's rolling. I won.
won.
Love
Love
you
you
guys.
guys.
I'm
I'm
so
so
jealous. I
jealous.
don't think they can hear us because we're asking them if,
Yeah.
can you hear us? Hello? I had to refresh. Ben says no.
No.
Huh. All right. Hold on a minute. I think
Hold on.
It says we're running.
We're running.
It totally says we're running. I had so
can we
so
type it?
63 says good for me. I don't always win. Ben's saying
keeps
no, but
saying
63 I think is saying yes.
Okay.
We are back.
Okay.
Okay, not frozen. Thank you, John
Not
Park.
frozen.
Thank you, 63. Thank you very much. Okay,
Yes.
so on that note, I think what happened was when I refreshed that over there to try and get,
Yeah.
that's what did it. Sorry about that, everybody. Anyway, congratulations to Carolyn Thau for winning the book. Carolyn, we're going to need your home address because we're going to ship it directly to you. Don't put it in the chat because you probably don't want people
Yeah, you
showing
don't
up
want
trying to
people
steal your
showing
book
up.
out of the mailbox.
That's right.
This was a good show tonight.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was a really good time. You
Yeah.
guys, we love that you have stuck with us for 40 episodes
40
of
episodes.
this. 40.
The show is nothing without the chat. That's the whole point of it. So, yeah.
Well, I will tell you this. Next week, we have an artist that's going to blow your mind.
Yeah, he's really fantastic.
Oh my God. This guy is going to blow your mind. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I think you're going to love it. And so stay tuned for that. I promise you that next week's show is going to really, really be an enjoyable experience. Ben, you're going to love next week's show.
Yes.
63 is going to love next week's show. Glenn, you're going to love you're all going to love
You're
this show.
all going to love it.
But I think,
You're going to love it, and you're going to love it.
can you see them out there?
No. I'm taking
Hold on a
cue
minute. We
from
need to
Oprah.
toast
Ooh,
everybody
yeah,
as we
do.
go out.
I have like a sip, and I don't think I should have any more than that.
You need something to toast with. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. All right, wait. You know what else we need?
What?
Since this was the Wayback Machine to the
Oh,
1980s, we got to go back into our costumes.
Y'all know who we are, right?
All right, so
Ali Sheedy, cool 80s guy.
oh, is that who you are? I love you. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining the Wayback Machine, our
Yeah.
time capsule to 1981.
1981.
We're going to see you all next week.
Next week.
And you guys have a great night. Cheers
Yep.
to you.
Cheers.
Cheers to all of you.
Cheers.
Have a great night.